Drake Maye is not the only Tar Heel to lead the nation in a statistical category, and the answer may surprise you.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Monday, November 7th, 2022. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen or your first watch every single day. Please don't forget we're free and available literally anywhere you get podcasts. So subscribe right now to make sure that you don't miss a second of your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs, which helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Well, friends, Carolina is coming off of yet another victory in football. We're going to unpack all of that today. If you're looking for basketball content, because today is the first Carolina basketball game of the season, I've got about a 10 to 15 minute preview of the game and overview of the season in our bonus episode today, and we'll have a recap of that tomorrow as well. So make sure you check that out. But as for today, we're going to do what we do for our full show for every football game recap. I'm going to give you some overview stuff of the game. We're going to look at 3 plays that I thought impacted the game in major ways, and then 3 players, and of course, my Shady stat of the game. So the overall view, got several things to talk about and share together here. First off, let's look at this. Carolina is 5-0 in the ACC, has won 5 straight games. And at this point, regardless of what any other team does, all Carolina has to do is win one more regular season game, and they have clinched a berth in the ACC Championship Game. Crazy stuff there. But at this point, you're looking beyond the ACC Championship Game, not overlooking it, not looking past any of these 3 games, but you've got bigger fish to fry. You got bigger things at stake now. Again, obviously, you want to take it one win at a time, 1 week at a time, Wake Forest and Georgia Tech and NC State. But why settle for just 1 win? Go out, win all 3 of those 1 week at a time, put yourself in a position to show out in the ACC Championship Game. I mean, Clemson is clearly vulnerable. We saw that on Saturday against Notre Dame. And then you win that, you're in a position for a New Year's Six Bowl. Probably not the CFP, because that's just what the ACC is or is not. But you went out, you got good things ahead. So ACC Championship Game, love it. Look beyond that and dream big. Now, here's the other thing. Not only has this team won 5 in a row, but they are road warriors. Number 2, and I don't think that's anything anyone expected coming into this year, because it's a complete 180 about face from 2021, where Carolina was literally 0-5 away from Keenan. This year, 5-0. They've won all 5 games on the road this season. All true road games, by the way. It's not even neutral site stuff. They haven't started off 5-0 away from home since 1997, and obviously have a chance to eclipse that with a trip to Wake Forest coming up this weekend. Third part of our big picture look at for today, new polls are out. Carolina moves up to 15th in the AP poll and 14th in the coaches poll. And so you win, you keep climbing, because people are going to be losing. Obviously, the one that matters is the college football playoff poll, and that will come out on Tuesday night. So stay tuned for that. Fourth thing to look at, big picture. Carolina has now trailed in 3 straight games at halftime. I don't know what it is with this team. Well, I do. They're getting off to starts, slow starts, and then it means the coaches are doing well at halftime, making adjustments, seeing the game, and doing things they need to do, because Carolina has won all 3 of those games at Duke versus Pitt, and then this weekend at Virginia. So 2 of those games are on the road where you're down at half and come back to win. And I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, because I've been saying this over and over again, But it's great to have those comebacks, but it's ultimately not sustainable. Now, I know they're literally proving me wrong right now by sustaining it, but you hear the larger point. Over the course of an entire season, it's not sustainable. Carolina needs to find a way to get out to a lead, build on it, and then continue to build on it. Step on a team and keep them down. Now, that said, I love the resilience of this team to not get down on themselves when they're down at the half. They recognize, hey, we got 30 more minutes of football action here, and we believe in ourselves. We believe in the offense. We believe the defense is going to get enough stops, things like that. So you love to see it, but ultimately you can't quit. You can't keep getting behind in the first half. Couple more things. I've said this on Twitter, but my favorite stat to follow this season for the Tar Heels has been their red zone efficiency. You ready for this? 41 red zone trips on the season in 9 games. They've scored in 37 of those 41 trips. That's good for 90.2%. Out of those 41 trips, also 32 of those 37 scores have been touchdowns. So 78% of the red zone trips have finished with a touchdown and 5 field goals. Now, only four red zone trips, as you hear me say, 37 scores in 41 trips. So 4 trips in which they haven't scored. Here's what's pretty funny to me. This is why this is my favorite stat. One of those non-scoring opportunities was Carolina went for it on a 4th and 4 against Miami, and Drake Maye and Josh Downs just weren't on the same page. But the other 3, literally all of them are end of game kneel down situations where you're in victory formation. End of the Florida A&M game to start the season, victory formation against Pitt last week, and then victory formation against Virginia this week. So clearly what Carolina needs to do is just find a way to get into victory formation at the 21 or something like that. And then the red zone numbers keep going up. But still, these numbers are crazy. And when you kind of factor in what they could be, if it wasn't for those end of game situations, absolutely insane. 2 more things. One is a quibble, and one is just looking at more of the ridiculousness of Drake Maye. So I rarely quibble with play calling decisions or coaching decisions because it's literally their job, and they know, even when it seems like the wrong decision, there's a long view or something like that. But there was an instance in the Virginia game that I do want to quibble with some. It's for those who are watching the game, Josh Downs had a great punt return against Virginia and puts Carolina in great position to keep extending their lead. I believe it's 31-21 at that point. But in that series, immediately following Josh Downs' punt return, there was an incomplete to J.J. Jones on first down. And then Coach Longo goes run on second, run on third, and you've got a 4th and 3, and Carolina goes 4th and 3 on the plus side of the field. They're in good position there. But it's run, all to Elijah Greene, and they fail to pick up the first down. Now, it's not that I'm against Elijah Greene. He had a great game. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But what it is that I'm not anti-Elijah Greene. I'm pro Drake Maye. And that's where my quibble is you would love to see your Heisman candidate get the opportunity to make a play on at least one of those 3 instead of run, whatever down it is. Obviously, he threw on first down, but 2nd, 3rd, 4th, all runs. Give him the ball and the opportunity on at least one of those plays. Josh Downs is out there making 15 catches on the day. I don't know, maybe they could hook up again. As I said, Carolina was up 10 at that point. There's about 4 or 5 minutes left. And so just one first down helps you. Virginia's out of timeouts. One first down helps you take a lot more time off the clock there. And so I don't know. I would love to see Coach Longo go to Drake Maye at least one more time in that series to give, again, his Heisman candidate quarterback the opportunity to help pick up another first down, keep running clock, and maintain that 2-possession lead. They didn't and had to punt. Virginia came and scored, and there were some tense moments down the stretch. So there you go. Speaking of Drake Maye, finally, the national conversation around this young man is picking up all sorts of steam. In fact, on game day on Saturday on ESPN, David Pollack said that he thinks right now Drake Maye is the number 1 pick in the 2024 draft. And so you love to see him getting some of this recognition that he deserves, not just for his numbers, but for who he is as a football player, because obviously just numbers themselves don't make you a high NFL draft pick. So people are seeing what he's doing statistically and seeing his fundamentals, the way he manages a game and all that, and are up on it. So how about that? Going from a quarterback battle in fall camp to like national college football voices saying, hey, this might be the number one pick in the 24 draft. That's just how good this young man is. Now, you know that Drake Maye was vying for a sixth straight 300-yard passing game, fell 7 yards shy, just 7 yards. In fact, he's of Carolina's 9 games, he's been 300 or more in 6 of them and fallen short in just 3. But in those 3 games where he's fallen short, he's thrown for 294, 284, and 293. So you tally all that, he's 29 yards short of 9 300-yard passing games. And I know that's a little bit of some loosey-goosey math, but you hear my larger point there. Crazy stuff that Drake Maye is doing. Oh, by the way, 3 more total touchdowns, 2 through the air, and 1 on a ridiculous run where just this crazy scramble, he reverses field and makes it into the end zone. We've talked a lot about all these statistical categories in which Drake Maye leads the nation. You ready for this? Let me give you where it's at as of heading into this next weekend. Drake Maye leads the nation by himself. None of these are ties. Passing touchdowns with 31. Total yards from scrimmage, 3,477. Total yards per game, 386.3. Total yards per play, 8.2. He's second in the nation in passer efficiency rating at 181.8, behind just Bo Nix, and then second also in total TDs responsible for with 35. Bo Nix passed him in that this weekend, and so he was number 1 there, and so they're just right there together. He's also 4th in the nation in completion percentage, 71.2%, passing yards, 2,964. And so all these, and this is not an exhaustive list. Obviously, he's high up in other things, but I just want you to keep seeing what Drake Maye is doing nationally. It's not just that he's a great Tar Heel. It's all over the nation. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned off the top, there's another Tar Heel leading the nation in something. And I said, you probably won't guess who it is. That's because it's not Josh Downs. It's not Cedric Gray. It's Antoine Greene, who's having a phenomenal year. Didn't have quite as explosive a game on Saturday, but he leads all of FBS in receiving yards per reception at 23. No one else has hit 23. He's the only one that has that high an average. And so Antoine Greene, keep it up, brother. Love to see what he's doing. Well, you know, I always want to talk about, man, what are some plays that really impacted this game in a major way? And we're going to get to that in just a moment after I tell all of us more about LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. And that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs, which helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's incredibly easy to create a free job post, so why not give it a try? Add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and ultimately hire. You want to finish the year strong, and the right new hire can help you do just that. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, so let's look at what I thought were 3 plays that really impacted this game. And they're all going to be second half plays. So let's start just coming right out of halftime. Carolina gets the ball to start the second half. Virginia had scored with just over 2 minutes left in the first half to go up 14-10. And you think at this point, all right, Carolina has a 2-minute drill, all 3 timeouts, and they get the ball after halftime, score 2, boom, boom, boom. You're up 24-14. You love to see it. But they don't end up picking up a first down and have to punt. Thankfully, Virginia doesn't score, and so the game goes to halftime still tied, or still with Virginia ahead by 4, 14-10. And you're thinking, man, The Tar Heels have to come out of the locker room and score to get some momentum going back here. And that's exactly what happens. But it took a great play from Drake Maye to do so. First down, Elijah Greene rushes 0 yards. Second down, Drake Maye keeper for 5 yards. So it brings up a 3rd and 5. This first drive of the second half. Remember, Carolina had just at the end of the first half not been able to do anything. And you're thinking, man, if they can't pick up these 5 yards, so many wasted opportunities to end the first and begin the second half. But here's what happens. I like this play both because of that game situation and because it shows so much of what Drake Maye is able to do. So he gets a snap. There's some pressure from the left side. So he slides left, steps up in the pocket, beyond the pocket to avoid it. And as he's moving left, he sees J.J. Jones cutting back across the field to his right. And so has to kind of contort his body to make the throw going not across his body, but like at an obtuse angle, like the opposite of that, and hits J.J. Jones in stride, 14 yards. 5 plays later, Elijah Greene finds pay dirt in the end zone, and Carolina now leads 17-14. It was a beautiful play, huge in the moment for what the game situation was and the game pressure, but also just because it shows these intangibles that Drake Maye have. So might be an underseen 3rd and 5 play at the midpoint of the game, but I thought it was huge both for the game and for Drake Maye. Now, the second play I want to point out was on the other side of the ball with Storm Duck. This was a pass breakup later in the third quarter. At this point, the teams have traded 3 straight touchdowns to start the second half. So Carolina scored, like I talked about. Then Virginia scores, and then Carolina scores again. So Carolina is up 3, and it's feeling like, man, if either of these teams could just get a stop, that team would be in great position to then go score, extend a lead, and have all the momentum. So Virginia has the ball. They pick up a first down to start the drive, but then they have incompletions on 1st and 2nd to bring up a 3rd and 10, and that brings us to the play I want to look at. This is definitely not you think 3rd and 10, it's like, oh, we'll easily get off the field. Listen, Carolina gave up no fewer than 3 plays of 3rd and 8 in this game, including like a 3rd and 15. And so you're like, man, got to do it. And so right off the line, Storm Duck jams up his receiver, Wilson, so much that when Virginia's quarterback, Brennan Armstrong, goes to throw to his intended target, Billy Kemp has like broken off his route as he intends to, but Storm Duck has his guy jammed up instead of being downfield. And basically Armstrong leads Kemp right into Storm Duck. He's in man coverage, but is able to come off his guy, just reach him mid out and knock the ball away, forcing a punt. Carolina goes down and scores on the next possession and builds this 10-point lead that we talked about earlier. And so this is huge because it really helps Carolina build that 2-possession lead that they ultimately hold on to win the game. And then the third and final play I want to point out is the onside kick in the final couple minutes of the game. And the reason I want to point this out is because it's a lesson learned from the App State game. You might recall in the App State game, Bryson Nesbit fielded an onside kick, ran it back for a touchdown, and extends Carolina's lead. But then App State gets the ball back, quickly goes and scores, and Carolina's in a lot of jeopardy at that point. However, if Bryson Nesbit had simply gone down, Carolina could have kneeled out the clock and won the game without App State ever getting the ball back. Fast forward to Saturday in the Virginia game, same scenario. Antoine Greene fields the ball and has a chance to do exactly what Bryson Nesbit did. The floodgates or the waters part, and Antoine Greene could basically run it all the way to the end zone. But he has learned slides. And so Carolina now has the ball, not giving it back to Virginia. There's 3:19 left at this point. Virginia has 0 timeouts. And so whereas, again, the App State game, Carolina could have run out the clock just by a couple kneel downs. Here, Carolina can't quite do that yet. But essentially, you pick up 1 first down and you can kneel down and run out the clock, as they ultimately did. Now, in his press conference, Coach Brown said since it's more than 2 minutes, he would like to see Antoine Greene go ahead and score there and make it a 2-possession game. And I hear that and I get it. But here's where I'm at on it and why I think it's the right play. Virginia, again, has 0 timeouts. Carolina literally just needs 1 first down from Drake Maye to be able to take a knee and end the game. And so the question for me becomes, what do you trust more? The defense to stop Virginia from a quick strike touchdown, which they haven't done much of at all, but they had just like the possession before had a huge play to get right on the doorstep of the end zone. So what do you trust more? One first down from Drake Maye or the defense stopping Virginia? Give the ball to Drake Maye. That's where I'm at. Because why? If you get that first down, literally the opposition never touches the ball again. Ball game, you take a knee and you go back to Chapel Hill. And so for me, just like I said earlier, put the ball in the hands of your Heisman candidate. Let him do what he's here to do. But anyway, all that to say, great job, in my opinion, from Antoine Greene to go down and not score and give Virginia the ball back, because in some ways that might be exactly what would benefit them. So that's the three plays. Now I want to look at the three players, the guys that I thought were the most important in this game, plus the Shady stat of the game. We're going to bring all that to you right after I tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for football betting and the start of the new basketball season today. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. I can't wait to see where Carolina's at now in the odds, both for the ACC and national championship things as they keep winning. And Drake Maye is BetOnline's 6th leading Heisman candidate odds. And so, man, that's great. As always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering info with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about all the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, so let us look finally at these three players who I thought just were the dudes in this game. Number one, let's go back to the defense and Cedric Gray. He is the head of the snake. He, for the multiple times this season, he has set a career high in tackles. He did it again with 16 tackles in this game. He has 99 on the season, 4th in the nation, 4th in all of FBS. 3 guys ahead of him are the only 3 in the nation with 100 plus tackles, and he's just one shy of being in that group. You love to see it. Cedric Gray in this game, in addition to his 16 tackles, well, 2 of those 16 tackles were TFLs, tackles for loss, had a sack, 2 pass breakups, and perhaps even more importantly is multiple times now this season, Cedric Gray has gotten banged up, and it's like, man, is he going to have to come out? And he has here and there, but this guy is the heart and soul of the defense and keeps finding his way back out there to lead the troops. And so you love to see what Cedric Gray is doing, not just for his statistical awesomeness that I just touched on, but also the way he just leads by example. And that is what this defense needs to continue growing through the final 3 weeks of the regular season. Second, Josh Downs. He's hands down the player of this game. I mean, we can't hand it out to Drake Maye every week, but Josh Downs just keeps impressing in big ways. Same as Cedric Gray, sets some career highs. Career high in receptions, 15. If my research is correct, one off the Carolina single game record. Yeah, that's right. He had a season high in receiving yards, 166. That's his 166 receiving yards. That's his 3rd highest in his Carolina career. It is the first time in his college career recording 3 straight games of 100 plus receiving yards. I wouldn't have guessed that, but I looked back at his whole game log, and that's absolutely right. It's the first time Josh Downs has had 3 straight games of 100 or more receiving yards. Not to mention, we already alluded to it, but he had this massive 38-yard punt return, tying his career high. And again, Carolina didn't ultimately do anything with it, but man, what a momentum shifter that was, and really could have been more so if Carolina had unfolded the offense a little bit differently there. The third player I want to highlight is, man, this guy, Elijah Greene. Just what a year it's been from him, coming from having all this playing time on special teams, working with the scout teams in practice, but just sticking with it. Of the coming into the season before British Brooks was hurt, this is a 6-man running back room, and he's probably at the bottom of the list if we're being honest about that. And here he is against Virginia as Carolina's starting running back. And here's the thing, he is making absolutely the most of the opportunities he is being given, not just with this start, but the last several weeks as well. Had 91 rushing yards. That's the most for a Carolina running back this season since Omarion Hampton's 110 against Georgia State back in the third game of the season. In this game, he had both a rushing and a receiving touchdown. And let's just not assume those receiving touchdowns are coming easily, because it is just kind of a known thing that he was not a great receiver coming in to college, and so has worked on that and had a great touchdown reception there from Drake Maye. And here's the other thing. It's like some running backs, it's like just three yards, a bunch of dust, and there we go. But this guy is getting some chunk yardage. Each of Carolina's first 3 drives had a rush, at least one rush in each of those 3 drives of 9 or more yards. And so you love to see him getting these chunk plays. And oh, by the way, in the last 3 games, Elijah Greene has 5 touchdowns. That's right, 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games. And so, just really interested to see how he continues to progress. It's really, I believe Anthony Pagnotta said this to us last week, but very similar to what British Brooks did at the end of last year, just coming along, kind of coming out of nowhere and having some games. And so keep going, Elijah Greene. We love to see it, and we're so happy for you. All right, and finally today, the Shady stat of the game. Now, here's a caveat. I know Virginia's offense is not all that great this year, and I know they were missing their top 3 receivers for this game, but still, last year against North Carolina, Brennan Armstrong, Virginia's quarterback, you ready for this? 72.2 completion percentage, 554 passing yards, and 4 passing touchdowns. You remember that? Yeah, it was a 59-39 win for Carolina, but still allowed all of that to Brennan Armstrong. This year, a little bit different. You ready? He was under 50% on completion, 17 for 35, so just barely under, but he was. Under 250 passing yards for the game at 232. It's a little bit shy of 554, and 0 goose egg on passing touchdowns. None of them. All of Virginia's touchdowns were on the ground. And so in some ways, Carolina was like, hey, come beat us on the ground, but no passing. And as we talked about Storm Duck, he had a lot to do with that in this game. Now, obviously, Virginia had some chunky yardage through the air, but no scores, nothing in the end zone. And so nice job not allowing Brennan Armstrong to do what he did last year. That is my Shady stat of the game. Well, that's it for today's full episode of Locked On Tar Heels. As a reminder, got a kind of bonus basketball preview episode, so make sure you check that out either on YouTube or if you're listening. And of course, coming up on tomorrow's show, a recap of the first basketball game of the season. You can follow the show on Locked On Heels on Twitter. You can follow me at Isaac Schade. Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen of the day. I want to encourage you for your next listen to check out Locked On Sports Today. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. It's available on Odyssey, YouTube, or anywhere else you get podcasts. Please don't forget, subscribe to the show, hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube, and leave some comments on your thoughts on this game. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on a Monday to get your week started right. And I want to remind you that it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Enjoy the game tonight, and until tomorrow, peace.